Okay, welcome everyone to the OpenJS Cross Project Council meeting. Today is January 6th. We have one chair out, one chair joining late. That will be Joe. So I'll kick things off and get it started. We're kind of slowly ramping in after taking a much deserved 2-week break for everyone. Hope you had a wonderful time with your friends and family. Let's jump right in. I think I'll just start at the top of our issues. If you look at the agenda. So issue 1709. Ben, you opened this last month. See some comments from Jordan and Chris. Anyone want to refresh everybody's memory on what this was about? I have.
Yeah, this was related to the new project stages that were developed and the need to apply those product stages to our existing projects. Um, so I see there's some comments in here, but yeah, I think basically we just need to come up, I think, with a proposal, like a table of the projects that might have a status change, and then what the um, new status should be, and then get that circulated and approved, and then we'll make the updates. Chris?
Yeah, just as a reminder, the background here was that we had some projects that kind of seemed kind of awkward to fit into the stages that we had before, and so we kind of tailored some of these new ones to better capture the matrix of projects in various stages. And I think that what we have does a good job of that. And so yeah, what Ben said is just shoring that up. And just to mention, because Robin had mentioned the comments from me and Jordan, Jordan had pointed out, I think, took issue with maybe the issue title about moment is deprecated. I mean, I don't know that really, it's sort of semantics, I guess. I don't know that it really matters.
Oh,
Moment has stated
semantics
that
are the
they don't
most
want
important
people
thing.
to use it, which sounds like deprecation to me, but it's neither here nor there because we don't have a project status that is deprecated. Um,
Yeah,
so I think
I
given,
saw your comment. I think
yeah,
feature complete for a moment would be fine. That
sure.
makes sense to me.
Yeah, because feature complete means that it's still receiving bug fixes, security fixes, which is sort of a little bit ethereal, because they haven't like truly committed to like necessarily fixing everything. They say they may, but they also haven't announced like end of life as far as I know, which is
Right.
a requirement for the other further stages that we have. So that
I
seems
mean,
like the one that makes the most sense.
they were pretty intentional with their wording. Like I spoke to them at the time. Like they wanted to discourage people from using it without actually deprecating it or end of lifing it or killing it. Like they really were trying to walk a line. And so I think as such, it's still I think feature complete is the correct term. And if they want to then come in and as project maintainers and take a different stand, then of course that's the what it should be.
So right now we're just what's the process to determine and slot people into stages?
Ad hoc. I mean,
Yeah, I think at least for this one, it's probably for me to add in a recommendation into this issue and get feedback on it. And if folks like it, then we'll just change the statuses. I don't think there's many that need to change. But yeah, it's just doing the work here.
Cool. Awesome. Of course, I have a leaf blower in January right outside my, okay. Let's see. Next on the agenda, I know we have some charters. Some folks are waiting on charters. Uh, Ben, do you have an update? We have NativeScript, Geodot, and VizGL. I know that Toby has been spending time with the maintainers working on those. We need an update from him on these three.
I don't know if I'm the best person for the update. I think Kate might have more up-to-date information than I do. Kate's been kind of handling most of the onboarding work. So, Kate, if you've got updates, that'd be great. If not, we can work to get one.
Yeah, sorry. we're on 1708, right?
Yeah, pending charters.
Yeah, so we definitely need to get the GEOTA charter. That's the last piece that we need for them to be officially onboarded, and then we'll have charters coming in from both Lit and Perspective. But I don't believe those are quite ready yet. But the onboarding process is moving for both of those, which is great. But that's all the updates I have about that at the moment.
So Geoda, we just need more eyes on it, and then it's
I think we've had eyes on it, but we haven't reached an official consensus on if we approve their charter. Um, I don't have the issue for that one in particular in front of me, but I can try and dig it up.
okay. Great. All right. Well, let's watch the chat for Kate, and then if everyone can take eyes on that, that would be great. Get that done. Okay. The next issue is 1707. Kylie, this is one that you opened up in December. Do you want to give us a little update and
I haven't joined a CPC in a while, so I'm not sure if it's been talked about prior. Um, has it been
I don't
brought up
think
at
it
all?
has. Yeah.
Okay. Remind me the number of it again, Robin, the issue?
It's 1707.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. So given this is the first time it's being brought up, then I wanted to get everybody's brains thinking about how we can be a bit more prescriptive on how folks can get involved. I think coming out of JSConf last year, um, I think there were a lot of questions of like, what is OpenJS, which is totally fair. Um, so I think we should put our heads together around how we can put right at the top on both our website and the README of how people can get involved immediately. So right now we are only representing our collab spaces on the README and then also the website. But I think if you're not involved and you don't know what's going on, you're probably like, what's a collab space? So I think that it would be great to get this group to think on this. I don't want to be the marketing person that changes everything. I want this to be kind of a collaborative effort here. In the issue, I have linked to Finos, which they have a pretty robust get involved page. And I actually don't like the format at all. It's a little wordy, but I think the integrity is there. So if y'all could take a look and kind of just right now use as a thought starter, this is not an urgent request by any means, but if one of our goals is to get new contributors and new folks in the door, I'd like to make it as easy as possible for them.
Great. Thanks, Kylie. Chris?
Uh, yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I think there's clearly some work to be done here to improve this. I agree 100%. Yeah, and I don't want to maybe create a separate issue. I don't know. I don't want to blow up the scope of this too much, but um, it can be a little bit like even for myself looking for things on the website like to send to other people because I recently had this question a couple months ago and I was struggling to find the information that I would have liked to send an individual. So yeah, I think this is a great initiative. um, I don't know if we have other stuff planned for the working session or if that would be a good place to a good use of that time
One
initially,
of the things
or
that
is it?
Joe and Toby and I have talked about, a lot of things get kicked to the working session and then the turnout is, maybe one or two folks. So we're thinking, we don't have to discuss this today, but to spend more time in the CPC hour on working on some issues, rolling up our sleeves. So.
Sure.
Mhm.
And Chris, just to go back to your point on not being able to find things on the website, I'd love it if you would just like Slack me if things come up like that. I'd love to hear your feedback. We are well aware that our website is not perfect. And, there's things we're changing and things I'm working on right now that should hopefully help. But I'd love if you come across things for you to just send me a quick Slack.
Sure. Yeah, the next time that comes up, I'm happy to do that. But it is very much in the same vein of what you're trying to address in the issue that you created. It's
Okay.
completely related to that. So
Cool.
I view these things as if not things that we would do together, they're certainly complementary. But yeah, I think
Okay.
that making progress on that item would go a long way to that as well, and certainly. Um, happy to be involved. I will be involved, and as I see things, I'm happy to raise those issues.
Awesome. Yeah,
Um,
that would be great. And this goes for anybody too, as well. If there's something you see or questions you have on the website, I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, if we want to kick this to a working session, I would love that. But I know this isn't like an urgent priority, so I'll stay tuned for what y'all think.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of people who introduce themselves and say they want to get involved on Slack. And so what I often do is send them to Raphael's Friday mentorship Twitch session as a way to sort of learn about getting involved. But that's just the Node project. Joe, we're on issue 1707 that Kylie opened about how to get involved. So yeah, more work to do on the website and the README. I actually I don't know, if a wild idea, but the whole concept of calling it a collaboration space always takes time to explain. So I don't even know if we'd want to revert back to a working group description. Chris?
yeah, I agree. When I first really started getting involved with the foundation, or specifically the security group, standards group, CPC, the switch to the collaboration spaces was basically a very new thing. And I had found it awkward to begin with, but I was like, oh, they just did this. I can't come in now at the 11th hour and say, hey, I don't know about this. But yeah, it does sound awkward to me, and I actually avoid using the term, like when I tell people like, oh, you should come to the OpenJS like blah 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 meeting. I don't say collaboration space because yeah, then
Same.
I think it's hard for comprehension and
I
just
mean,
casually talking about
the
stuff.
main reason we did it, not that we came up with that specific wording, but the main reason we changed things, as I recall, was to sort of try to align with the Node definition of working group. Because what we had was not the same as Node's definition of working group. And so like I'm I would be ecstatic to find a better term than collaboration space. But like if we pick working group, then we're gonna run into that same question again.
When I
Yeah,
think
I
about a
mean,
working group, I think about all of the foundations in the world that have working groups on topics. I don't specifically know or knew that the Node working groups are, I don't know if you're saying those are more exclusive or, but
I believe it has to do with whether they're chartered or not. Joe, you can probably speak to this better than
oh,
I can.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and there were like strategic initiatives there too, and yeah, so and I think yeah, part of it too was like we wanted it to be more broad, like you didn't necessarily have to be a part of the CPC to be a part of the working group kind of thing too. But yeah, every time I talk to somebody about our work here, I'm like, oh yeah, the Cross Project Council, which is kind of like our technical advisory committee. Oh, and our collaboration spaces, which is pretty much a working group, you know.
I
So
know it
yeah,
always takes an extra 50%
yeah.
breath.
yeah. So that all makes sense, and similar to what you're saying about, well, it evokes at least for some folks the node working groups. For me, I think immediately of the W3C working groups, which are different from the community groups. The working groups work on standardization, and so like if we have a standards working group, does that mean we're working on normative things? And like it's sort of we are, sort of we aren't. So I mean, I think you're always going to run into this problem of having an overloaded term, or you're going to have to try and come up with something novel like collaboration space, and that has its own sort of downside. So it's like there's no perfect answer. It's like what's like kind of the best or like the least worst, or because And the same time, you have to might explain what a collaboration space is. On the flip side, if you call it a working group, you may have to distinguish and disambiguate what that means. Um, that being said, I think that sticking with terms that, even though they may be overloaded, are at least sort of better understood in like conversation. And so it doesn't have to be working group, it could be community group, it could be something else. But yeah, I find the collaboration space to be awkward. Wes?
Yeah, I do remember this conversation, specifically the part about nodes working groups, but like everybody has working groups, they all have different meanings. So I'm definitely in support of saying working group because it's all right. But another proposal here is just team. Team is generally understood and doesn't necessarily have you know, any specific meaning that we would be combating. And it is more in alignment with what our uh, goals and outcomes are for these groups. Because in Node, for example, we talked about whether they're chartered for something. Well, that means something because it means they are delegated ownership, right? Uh, Teams doesn't have that overloading, right? Teams is just, you know, I think pretty generic. And most of what we're doing, we don't have really anything that is delegated responsibility for something, right? It's pretty like loose and free, you know, in that regard. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was the problem here is that we're being all pedantic about stuff. People who we're explaining this to do not care at all about this. And frankly, we shouldn't either in this regard because uh once they're onboarded and they've figured it out, they'll understand what it means because they'll be involved. And this is really, if it's an onboarding thing that we're, you know, thinking about from the naming perspective of like explaining to new people, then choosing working group seems no brainer. Or teams, I think teams would work as well because I don't think you'd have to explain that. Our security team, you know, is pretty. I can't imagine our standards team, right? Like those things are, I think would be all, even though it's less um, common, because I don't know of anybody who uses teams generically for these things uh, in any projects, but it still, I think, would be low risk of having like a lot of big confusion for new people.
Chris?
Yeah, you use the word pedantic, which is yeah, something to cover
How we
here,
roll.
right? Yeah, but in that vein, I think team, I shy away from that a little bit because it suggests there's some sort of like
Hey,
you know, hierarchy, or like you have to join, or which
or no.
some, you know, is sort of true for the cross project council, but not so much for the other groups. But yes, on the standards group, except, you know, you come to meetings, but you're not necessarily anyway. And then you mentioned a sort of a delegation of authority. It's worth noting that the standards group does have delegation of authority from the foundation to represent the foundation in standards bodies, but only for the constituency of that group that it actually is representing the foundation, and
And that's
not
also a unique
everybody in that
case.
group is.
Security as well to make, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, yeah, I put in the chat, but like even the unqualified group, right, without even saying working as a qualifier. And I actually think that's how I usually refer to it in convert when I'm talking about stuff with people. I say the security group or the standards group rather than the collaboration space. So I think any of those things,
I
aside
would
from team, would be
love someone to open an issue. Kylie's blessed it from a marketing perspective, a brand, a name change. I would love, my vote would be working group, but group,
we'll
working group.
start the bike shedding thread going.
Yeah,
Sure.
but collaboration space has always been awkward. And I think if you're looking, I mean, this originated from Kylie's issue, how to get, you know, make it more user friendly for people to understand what we do and how to get involved. Yeah.
I think also collaboration space, not to go on and on about this, but is not greatly intuitive for our folks for whom English is not their first language.
All righty. Okay, cool. Anyone volunteering to open up that?
Yeah, I'll create an issue for it.
Thank you. All right, Joe, you're back running the show. We would be on, what's the one following Kylie's after 1707? Oh, the charter review we already discussed. Kate posted a link to the GeoDA. Then I
Okay.
think 1698 perhaps.
Okay. Let me I got things open here. Let's see. 1698, where are we? Okay, so simplify and adjust CPC voting member tiers and process is issue 1698. Ben, you open this, but Chris, you have a bunch of comments too. Jordan as well. Okay, so this is there's a lot of chatter here. Does anybody want to update us on where this is at?
I don't think we've made any movement since, yeah, the comments in November. But basically, we have discussed this a little bit, I think, in this meeting. Basically, what we need to address, the big thing we need to address from my point of view is that right now, as this is currently written, the existing voting members are effectively voting for themselves, which means the regular members of the CPC have no are not represented. They have no representation, which doesn't really make sense and is not in keeping with the original voting processes that were in place, or maybe technically currently are. There was some more convoluted process for the impact. Well, previously / currently the impact voting members, but that process, I guess, wasn't followed, where the impact projects, or I'm sorry, the at-large projects were meant to send like electors, like specify the people that would be voting on behalf of their project, because the whole point was to have this representation in the voting membership. And so you would have some folks representing the regular members who they vote for, some folks representing the at-large and incubating projects whom they vote for, um, and that makes sense. But right now, it's, anybody nominates, and then the current voting members and only the voting members are the ones who are deciding who are there, which does not make sense. Um, is that clear enough? Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So this is a pull request to update that.
uh, I mean, I can let Ben speak to the original intent of the pull request, but um, one of the things was to simplify so that there's no more, um, at-large incubating representation directly. It would just be one big pot of community membership that's meant to represent them as well as the regular members. And I'm fine with that simplification if we want to do that. But the people that vote for those folks should not be the current voting members. It needs to be all of the regular members of the CPC. And so I think, this PR can be adjusted to account for that, but it currently doesn't. And I don't know how other people feel, but that was the issue that I raised.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me. I'm trying to.
I'm trying to if I remember back from the formation of everything, I think there was some concern expressed that, like, because to be a regular member, you just make a PR. And if you're not an obvious problem, you become one. And so, like, the ability to stuff the ballot box is pretty, like, the bar, or like the difficulty to do that is pretty low if regular members are voting. Now, I don't think any of the current regular members, I'm not concerned about that. And, hopefully we can assume good faith for people, right? I'm not espousing that position necessarily. I'm just saying I think I remember it being discussed. And if we're fine with that, then cool.
So I mean, that was the process at one point, was to create a PR, but people could object, and that has happened in the past,
Oh
right?
yeah, sure.
Now it's different. You have to submit a form, and then the CPC reviews it and everything. And we have not really had much of that at all.
Also very true.
Um, but so I don't see that as a problem. I also think that as part of this, we really need to update. Like, we have quite an out-of-date list of members on the CPC. Quite a few of them are not active and have not been for quite some time. So that needs to get cleaned up. But yeah, the intent would be that the people actually voting are A, active members, and B, you know, we solve the ballot box stuffing problem by just processes that already exist, right? We're not going to get like a flood of 100 people, um, coming to apply to join the CPC via that form. If we did, that'd be very strange. Although I'm happy to have the, the additional help and collaboration. Um, but yeah, I just don't see that really being an issue. Um, yep.
So that makes sense. I don't, I don't really foresee any issues with that. Um, I wonder if what's the three bullet points at the bottom, Chris?
Oh, it was just summing up the original way that the voting was meant to work,
Got it.
before slash current, before this change slash, I guess technically currently, though we don't follow it. At least the two bullet points at the bottom, but it was just putting in writing what I was trying to express earlier, which is how at-large and incubating projects vote amongst themselves for their representatives, and the regular members are meant to vote amongst themselves for their representatives. But right now, everybody is just decided on by the voting members, and it's a very small number of individuals, and is heavily skewed toward impact projects. And the other thing about the Jordan talking about stuffing the ballot box is, like, the voting members vote on very, very little, right? I think it's just ultimately the chairs.
Also true.
And like, if we couldn't get consensus on something, and somebody wants to say, oh, let's take a vote. Which
That's
is
never happened. It's mostly the board seat. It's kind of the only time they vote is essentially for the board seat,
Which
pretty
is
much.
important thing.
Which is important, yeah.
Jordan, you have a comment in here. I can link to it. Is this list missing collab space voting members?
Oh, I very vaguely remember making that comment.
Yeah, so this is another thing that's sort of like in the governance, but in practice hasn't manifested. There's statuses for collaboration spaces.
Yeah.
And once you achieve, I forget if the word was core or something, but once a collaboration space was at that level, they would gain a voting representative or something, like, I believe. And that's
Huh.
all there. So this doesn't account for that. But so far, there has not been a collaboration space that has gotten to that level. There probably could be for at least one or two. Um, but again, if we're trying to be holistic and account for everything, this didn't mention that at all. So
Yeah, it's funny.
we do have to rectify what's going on with it.
I don't
I don't
remember
recall
that.
that at all.
Same. It's like we keep talking about wanting to simplify the foundation. So yeah, that would be a nice one to streamline.
Yeah, it's a nice idea, but I don't know if we need to start adding more voting members out of collaboration spaces necessarily. Right? I mean, if you're a regular member of the CPC, then you vote on your representation within the CPC. If you're a collaboration space member, just become a regular member and then vote for your representative there? I don't know.
Yeah. I think the two most important things that people vote on is the board seat. And then the other thing, you don't have to be a voting member, but regular members get to weigh in on which projects come in the door.
Mhm.
So, and that we've always opened up to all the regular members. So that's super important. Anyhow, Joe disappeared again. Okay. So let's see, next steps. We talked in circles.
I think, yeah, I think next step here is I'm going to go through the comments and the suggestions that were discussed in the issue and look at my proposal and see what needs to be updated and changed. I think I want to not touch. I'm worried about overloading this change with a too much stuff. So I might do a little divide and conquer here. And specifically, I'm thinking about the stuff in here about collaboration spaces. We might want to spin that out into a separate discussion. So that's a long-winded way of saying the next steps on this one are on me, and I'll look at it.
Okay, well, Joe just stepped away. The next issue on our tag team CPC looks like was opened by Toby. So rename section 6 of the CPC charter. It looks like is it self-explanatory? Do we need Toby here to make progress on this? Let's see. Can everybody just take a look and add a comment perhaps at the end? It looks pretty straightforward.
Sorry, which issue is this?
It's issue 1680.
Oh yeah, this has a bunch of approvals already.
Yeah.
So I think we can just merge this.
That sounds good to me. Again, it looks pretty straightforward.
I know Jordan had a comment there about the not needing the comment, but I don't think that was a blocker. I think it's harmless enough to have it, or you can remove it.
Yeah, it's not a blocker. It's
anyway.
just
All right, I'm just going to merge
just-
it then.
yeah,
Okay,
it just
awesome.
happens enough that comments would be everywhere if we did that every time.
Can I say we're being very productive on January 6th?
Sure.
Yeah.
It is merged.
Okay, thanks. Um,
Oh, I'm just to be clear because it's a charter change, but this is an editorial change, so I don't think it needs like board approval, right? It's not like a substantive change.
okay. Now, issue 1678, create policy guidelines to improve the security posture of folks with access to GitHub and NPM. Let's see. There's not been a sub-issue. I know that we've been adding me to many of these projects. I think that was it. I know we have a really good dashboard going in the security collab space on access that Ulysses has been driving. Does this need to be a separate CPC issue? Ben, you're taking a look. Seems maybe redundant, a little redundant, or I thought we had to sort of address these issues before.
Kind of feel like this is redundant.
So,
Maybe I'll try and close this up by referencing our security guidelines. I think the intent of what Toby is saying is right. Like, we want to be sure that any folks that have elevated permissions use two-factor auth or passkeys or whatever the platform offers for extra extra security. So yeah, I'll double check that all that stuff is covered in our security guidelines, and then we can probably close this one out.
Okay. Oh, hey, there you are, Joe. So Joe, that was 1678. We've already talked about charter approvals. We talked about moment earlier. Let's see. I would maybe jump to 1607, clarifying charter requirements.
Okay. Excuse me.
Mhm.
This is one that we've been working on for a while, right? And we've had some working sessions on this. I feel like
I think we can remove the CPC agenda label for this. Maybe leave the working session, but yeah, somebody just needs to um, follow up with the stuff we decided to do.
how would we go about following up with the stuff that we decided to do? Is that captured somewhere?
And Toby's been working on that template quite a bit. So
Okay.
it's probably a question for him on how we want to track that progress overall.
Okay. I removed the agenda label and we'll try to double back with Toby in the coming weeks. All right, there it is. So just continuing on through the agenda, the next one is, well, I guess before I get to the next one, do we have a private session planned?
We already did one just at
Oh,
the
you did?
top of the
Okay.
hour. Yep,
Oh, okay, great.
that's cool. Yep, it's good.
All right. Next one is project website footers. This has been around for a while. I think Kate,
Yeah, I think it's time to figure out a way forward on this one. This kind of ties into uh, us trying to figure out what the best way to communicate all of these changes would be, because we did an audit on a couple of other things too, as well as the website footers. So some projects are going to have multiple changes to make, but we didn't want to overwhelm them. So maybe this is part of a larger discussion about how we communicate with them moving forward.
and I feel like there's an issue for that,
I
communication.
think you're right.
So maybe we
Yeah,
take this off the agenda, but make sure it's in like the description of that one or something, that it's a part of what should be discussed with them.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Great. I will move the label off of this one. And trying to see also relevant 1486. Is this the one? Yeah, organize regular batch policy updates for projects. Yep, and project website footers is already there. Okay, great. So I removed the label. It's already in that other issue. And I'm going to find where my hackmd file went. Where the heck did you go? There it is. Okay, great. Moving along to 1509. This issue, Mateo opened up back in June about AI assisted development. I feel like we've talked about this a bunch. But I'm trying to figure out where we are at with it.
That was sort of passed to the AI collaboration space / working group. Jean is one of the co-chairs. It seems to be universally acknowledged that, of course, folks are using AI assisted development, but the AI collab space is going to be launching a podcast in the next several weeks that will give a lot of guidance and education for all types of folks. So
Okay. I am
I feel
going
like
to,
we could take that maybe update. Yeah.
okay, I'll drop a comment in here and take the agenda label off.
Yep.
Okay.
Sound good, Sean? He's with us.
Hello, hello.
Mhm.
Great. Cool. I will move on to organize regular batch policy updates, which we just kind of talked about. COC next three items, which I think all just need to be worked on, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the end of the agenda.
Hang on, just real quick. For the contributor covenant code of conduct 1457, do you recall if there was a reason why we weren't upgrading to 3?
Yeah, there's
No.
some kind of conflict between, I think there's a comment in there. But there's something incompatible or problematic with like privacy policy, something like that. I
We
think
cleared that.
Toby.
We cleared
Yeah.
that and agreed to go to 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, but there's no responses. The last thing is from Toby about this contributor covenants privacy requirements are too extreme. They require consent for any kind of information sharing which even the GDPR acknowledges isn't practical at all.
No, I ran this and other issues by our chief privacy compliance officer at the Linux Foundation and found it was, yeah, not a violation of global privacy policies.
Yeah, I
Henry.
think it, Chris, you bring up a good point that this isn't in text isn't resolved, but also this was written on September 4th. I think we made updates to the contributor covenant with some of this in mind. So how about I double check the current text of the COC3, and see if this is resolved. And if it is, I'll mention this. And then I think the next step, if all goes out well, would this just be a PR with the new, adopting the new version. If it's not resolved, I'll also put that, we can decide what we want to do next.
Sure. That sounds good. Yeah, the heart of the issue was that is saying that as written, it would make it impossible for us in certain situations to follow the code of conduct process. Like if we couldn't get information because we had to request permission and then didn't get it, and then we don't have the information that's needed to follow up with code of conduct issues. So obviously you're well familiar with that stuff, so you can take a look and assess and make that determination if we still have an open issue there.
Yeah, I remember this being discussed with the group, the contributor covenant group. So yeah, Ben, if you can look at that, that would be great. And then maybe just drop an update into that issue too, and then we can move it forward. That would be great. Any other business besides figuring out what we want to do next week for the working session?
We had discussed maybe we in the middle of this meeting about maybe not having working sessions anymore and spending more time in our real meetings, having working sessions in our real meetings, because we only have a couple of people show up for working sessions. And I feel like we're punting a lot in this meeting to a working session. So I think it's something we need to discuss if we think it's been working well or not working well.
What would that look like? Will we just do every other week and still try to get work done in those sessions?
That would be my recommendation.
Okay. That doesn't seem realistic, but okay.
What did we do when we started? Were we doing weekly? And then
We were,
yeah. How do you all feel about weekly and then just really digging into some things as a bigger group?
Well, it's funny to me because I feel like we should maybe meet weekly and then alternate between getting stuff done and going through the agenda.
Yeah, but what happens is
That's the
it's
status
like
quo.
an ad hoc if this is something you want to dig deep into. So
Yeah.
Do you feel like the attendance of the working sessions has been effective at like only attracting the people that want to work on that topic?
It's a good question because I feel like we don't need a ton of people to get work done, you know, So
And I think having this meeting be separate and like not working on working session type stuff makes it easier to time box topics, or like makes it feel more natural to time box topics.
yeah, agreed. Wes?
Yeah, I think there's trade-offs either way, totally. I kind of like having it separate as well because there's definitely been working session topics where I don't think I would have a whole lot to add. And I do know specifically this call, we do spend a fair bit of time, probably the majority of it, talking about governance things. And there are certain people who are just not interested in that at all. And so they, I would assume, would be more likely to, come to the topic they care about. Uh, I think we do a poor job advertising those sometimes, to be clear. So I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's like working as is, but I also don't think that mixing in the topics with sort of this, what we do on here, which is like deep dive into governance, like probably 80% of the calls, I think, throughout the past year have had at least like probably 50%, right? Governance talks. We're just talking about charters and stuff. And there's just some people who that's just not their jam, right?
Yeah.
And so like for example, if we did a deep dive into a specific, we've done a couple of those. Again, we didn't have great turnout. I'm trying to think what is a good example of one. Well, maybe didn't we do it one of the AI discussions that actually ended up spinning out into that collab space because of it? Like I feel like those are probably more valuable, even if we have low attendance, because it doesn't take everybody to get the job done. So I'm fine with keeping them separate, but maybe we could do a better job of like structuring them or
Or even just promoting them,
promoting them. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, yep.
Monday morning, do an ad here in the CPC channel. This is the session this week. Michaela? Oh, I
Can't
can't
hear
hear you.
you.
Yeah, I can't hear your mic, Michaela. I heard a noise, like a little glitch noise, and then it went away.
Let's see, is this any better?
There you
Yeah.
go.
Okay, great. Audio sources. So yeah, that's actually exactly what I was going to say. If there's some sort of like agenda blast out that could happen either the day or the day before, just to have a better sense. I think for me personally, I was always on the day of like, wait a minute, what was this working session about again? And
Yeah.
that sometimes make me question whether or not I should attend. So that would be really helpful, personally at least.
Yeah. John, looks like you're commenting about the next 10 also.
No, it was for the idea of doing just I forgot the word just what Wes was talking about just before.
Okay.
A focus group to work on something.
Yeah. Chris?
Um, I would definitely hesitate to want to change like the cadence of the main meeting itself. Part of the reason for that is because we've kind of enshrined other things with the 2 week cycle, like the travel fund stuff. I don't know if that's the only thing or if there's other stuff. But it opens up this can of worms where we have to start rethinking these other things that might go out of sync. Um, I know that the working sessions may be sometimes sparsely attended. Sometimes it's just hard to, depending on what the thing we're working on is, if it's something where we just need to get started, if somebody hasn't already done some legwork already to get the ball rolling, so we have some kind of like straw person to work with when we sit down together, then it creates this awkward thing of like, well, are we going to slowly kind of do this collaboratively in real time, which sometimes works for things, sometimes doesn't. But
Yeah.
that can, and so like you might be like waiting for a volunteer to have done that initial work and you can't really make progress till you've done that. That can be an issue with working sessions. So they're not always going to be, fruitful or a good use of time. And so you may adjourn or what have you. But I mean, I think we're always going to struggle with that regardless of if we try to slot it into this meeting or wherever you have it. I think it's good to have the standing time and maybe having a more, and I don't know the best way to go about it, but having a more formal agenda like folks have been talking about, Michaela and others, could be in service of that.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, does the current meetings bot create issues for the working session? And I think it does, right? And then no, it doesn't.
I don't think so,
Did
no.
Ben, of course, Ben had to leave.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't. We used to have a little, grid up at the top, a little spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there
So
used to be something because that's what the CPC working session label had, right? That's what that was for.
I don't think so. I think we were just
No?
using that label to just make sure we, kept track of things we thought would be good for working sessions.
Mhm.
We did have, like Robin said, there used to be a running list of meetings, all and we would like, put the issues in there that we would work on in the working sessions, but we haven't done that for a little while. So my thinking
Yeah.
is we get that going again. We get a little bit better about blasting out, say, Monday morning, which if there's a cadence around that, it also could be a spur to like get things together, straw man or what have you, to be prepped for that meeting as well. So I
Yeah.
could certainly be doing better to facilitate. Wes?
I think if I remember correctly, I think we stopped doing the issue stuff around when we adopted the LFX platform stuff because there was it just wasn't working quite the same as it used to, right? Like there was like because you have to have the like source of the meeting time is in the LFX dashboard, and like that's where the Zoom link gets generated. And like I just seem to remember that it was like not working quite right. And that was why, because I don't know if we like changed the meeting time or I don't know. But either way, the reason I say that is because I really think we need to get with like Ryan and folks at the LFIT and talk about this problem a bit more in depth, because I really dislike, and I've had this problem multiple times on the Express side, managing the meetings via this bespoke platform. I really wish it was driven by something we already use. So like every time we have any new meeting change or, add new people or whatever, there's this administrative overhead we've added where now I have to go in and add them to LFX in LFX, right? In the project management dashboard. It's really kind of problematic in my opinion. Like I would really love for us to sort out something better. And I know not all projects are driven from GitHub, right? I get that. But like let's be real. Most of them are, right? Like the vast majority are. So having a tighter integration there that pulled GitHub issues and assembled an agenda and opened up an issue where we could link people publicly so they don't have to have an LFX account and like has the Zoom link and like all that stuff would be really nice.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get out of the LFX, unfortunately, for a number of other
Yeah,
reasons.
and
But
I'm
yeah.
fine with that. I'm
Mhm.
actually fine if it was all from LFX, but LFX created the GitHub issues, right?
Mhm.
Like for Express, or if again, there's a few
Yeah,
details.
we should give feedback to the LFX product team for sure. So um, I can organize that.
Chris?
Um, hmm, yes. What should I raise my hand for? Um, oh yeah, I pasted in the chat an example of CPC working session, but then Joe pointed out that the title had been changed because it looked to be an erroneous thing. But I think that honestly, the issue automation alone would go a long way. It will pull in the things that are tagged with the working session label. And then somebody, if we do a better job of grooming what is still labeled with that, so we don't have stuff that's kind of fallen by the wayside on there. And then once that's up, somebody can see it and go, oh, I think we had decided to do this at XYZ at the next working session. So that's going to be the focus. And then folks that are subscribed and get those notifications will see that, and there will be better clarity on what's going on. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's still, and we're well over time here, but that still requires some manual stuff there. And so I think at the very least, as an interim step, maybe with that Monday thought, you create an issue. Um, but even still, you're like creating an issue just to have an issue. I don't know.
You're
I think
not though.
the,
You're
the,
creating the
the
issue to have a central place for people to view the agenda, the schedule, and the other surrounding make comments and just say, "Oh, I can't make it," or "I can," or
Sure, sure.
"I'd like to
Okay,
talk about
that's
X,"
fair.
right? So the issue is there for a central collaboration point so that we're not spread out, like we are today.
Yeah, that makes sense. My thinking was, am I creating an issue to say we're working on this issue, this other issue? Am I pointing just an issue to point to an issue? But I get what you're saying. There's all the other stuff that kind of comes along with that.
I would suggest that a big advantage is that it creates a notification for people that are subscribed.
Yeah.
Because no, very few people, I believe, I may be wrong, but like, does it show up like on people's calendars directly, like not in a shared way, but like where you would actually get a notification when the meeting is starting, for example?
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure that's the case, and so the low turnout in general may be at least in part due to the fact that people just don't know or they forget, like they have to think about, oh yeah, this meeting was happening, and they're just less aware of it. So just the fact that it would perhaps increase like the awareness of it happening or coming up,
Yeah.
it could be helpful. I don't know, Megan.
Yeah, and it could even spur you being me to like go and update the issue to make sure it accurately reflects the work. Megan?
I was gonna say, I wanted to respond to the comment of like, oh, are we creating an issue to say that we're talking about another issue? But I think, because we list out like what issues we're going to talk about in the agenda, and I think a nice side effect of that is that like on the actual issues, you get like in the issue history, like a log of meetings that this issue was talked about at. And then like,
Yeah.
If they want to go like check the minutes somewhere or whatnot.
Yeah.
The meeting issue also has links to like, yeah, it's like a nice place to say like, hey, I can't make it, or yes, I am going. It has like a link to the Zoom link.
Yeah.
It's nice. It does show up in GitHub notifications if you watch the CPC repo. I suppose
Yeah.
someone could leave a comment like an
Yeah.
hour
No,
ahead of time to be like, hey, it's starting soon.
yeah.
But I also just add the calendar on Google Calendar, and that's been fine for me.
Yeah. All good reasons. Michaela?
Yeah, don't want to continue having us too much overtime. Just want to add to it would be really helpful. I see at the bottom of that link that Chris sent that there are emoji reacts as well requested for attending, not attending, and not sure. So that would
Yeah.
be great for record keeping, but also being aware of who is planning on attending the event so that we can increase that turnout beforehand to people.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Those are used
Sorry.
almost exclusively by Jordan Harband.
I like that system, but nobody else seems to use it.
I know we
used to,
use
yeah.
I
Slack.
use it when like I go and pull up the agenda, like when the meeting starts, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I'm here.
Well, I mean, I do it when when the issue's created, I get the notification and I go and I'm like, I can say right there if I'm going to be there or not.
Yeah. That's funny.
No. I think it's great but just so few people use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It is helpful.
If we want to set this up, I just want to offer that we're using the Meet thing, the PKGJS group or the Node.js package maintenance working group wrote on Express, and I have it personally. I use it and I set it up to create an issue on a schedule. So while it is a meeting bot, it is basically just a scheduled issue list assembler, right? So if we wanted to not even make a human have to go and do this, we can set that meeting issue action up and create it on demand at a specific time of day. So we could do like Monday. And so if we had the agenda label, we can just assemble that. That would be a very small PR to the CPC repo if we want that. Then we don't need a human to remember to go in every Monday and create the.
Thank you, Wes, for volunteering. I really appreciate that.
No, it'd be relatively trivial for Wes or me or anybody to do that. That's familiar
I'll
with
do it.
what he's
No,
talking
no, no.
about.
I'm volunteering. You're right,
Well,
Joe.
hang on,
Thank
hang
you.
on.
I'll
So
volunteer.
we suggested this to create the regular meetings in the first place, and Ben had expressed a dispreference, shall we say, for doing that, because he just finds the GitHub workflows and the YAML to configure it to be kind of cumbersome and troublesome, and that's why he favored the bot that's there that creates the regular meetings. So if there's a way for it to get done, because I don't think that requires any manual intervention on his part. I may be mistaken, but he's not here. So maybe we just follow up on that issue with Ben, and just to get a better understanding of, hey, if we wanted to do this, is it trivial for you to just add it into your bot stuff? And if not, then let's, I'm happy to create I think it should just be the workflow file for all of it, but like, I'm not gonna pick my battles. And if the meeting bot thing that Ben's got set up is working just fine, hey, this gets the job done, no problem.
Yeah, yeah, sounds good. Before we wrap, what are we working on next week?
Yes. Potentially, I think was it Kylie's issue about the creating some better get started, how to get involved, content slash dealing with what potential website information architecture issues or that sort of thing.
I
That
like
was
that.
potentially that, if there's not something higher priority.
I like it.
Um,
Yeah, because it's January, people are looking at how to volunteer their time for the year. Yeah.
I
Great.
think it's also like a lower hanging fruit. Like I don't look at that and go, oh, this is going to be some, I think we can get like really hit the ground running on it, and with some ideas and stuff that we want to do, and just we could pull up the website and go, hey, how do we find this? And I
Yeah.
think we can really make some progress on that in a working session right away, versus other things that I had mentioned earlier, where like, well, somebody needs to do a bunch of legwork first, and we need to have something to look at.
Mhm.
So I think it'd be a good candidate if there's not something higher priority. So, Joe, do you want to create an issue for next week's working
Nope.
session and what we want to talk about there?
I am adding the note like I normally do in our minutes. There it is. And I will reach out to Ben and see about the bot, and hopefully have the bot do the work. How's that sound?
Sure,
All right.
it's fine to me.
All right, cool. Great. So I updated the meeting notes. We'll work on that stuff next week. And thanks everybody for a great session. Nice to see
Yeah.
you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.